So Afternoon Swim, that is, I would say, one of Louis Vuitton's more popular fragrances that they have in their lineup, especially here in the United States. It's a really easy to wear, fresh fragrance that you would typically wear like in warmer weather in the high heat. It has a really simple note breakdown with a lot of citruses. And it's definitely a fragrance that I do enjoy a lot. So that's one of the sort of Louis Vuitton clones that I have been looking for like all of 2023. And so we have three from Middle Eastern clone brands here that I'm going to be going over in this video today. So the first fragrance is going to be Grandeur Elite's Sun Exclusif. The next one is Luciano's Sunset Swim. And then the third one that I have here is Aston's Luxe Vision Morning Swim. All right. So again, all of these are going to be Middle Eastern fragrance brands, I believe. So actually the Luciano is not a Middle Eastern one. This one looks like it's saying that it's made in France. And I don't really see any like Middle Eastern writing or anything like that that you would normally see on the backs of some of these fragrance brands. So this one isn't going to be a Middle Eastern, but it is like a really sort of affordable, cheap fragrance cologne brand. So we're going to be comparing all of those with the original from Louis Vuitton. So pretty much, let's just kind of go over the presentation here. This one is the Grandeur Elite. So that kind of sits in there like that. And then this is what the bottle looks like. So, I mean, if you've bought any sort of, Louis Vuitton clone, it's about the same thing that you're used to. The cap on this is magnetic, but it's not a very strong magnet. So I would say definitely don't pick this one up by the cap. The Luciano, this one, bottle looks like that. All right. The cap is not magnetic, just kind of snaps on. I would say you can pick this one up by the cap. It does snap on tight enough and hold it to where you can, pick it up by the cap. All right, and then the Aston, this one kind of looks like the Maison Alhambra can that you get, for their Louis Vuitton fragrances, and so does the actual bottle itself. This does also look like, the Maison Alhambra John Lowe or Jean Lowe, however you say it, fragrance bottles. The only difference is the cap is not magnetic, all right? Now, in terms of sprayers, the Luxe Vision Morning Swim, this is going to have the best sprayer. This has like a pressurized sort of sprayer, kind of like the Emperor Perfumes fragrance sprayers. So it definitely has the best sprayer. All right. The Luciano, this one I believe also has a pretty decent sprayer. Yeah, it has a pretty good distribution on the sprayer with that one. And then I would say, yeah, the Sun Exclusif, this one definitely has the worst sprayer. This one lets out like a really sort of short, kind of puff pretty much. So in terms of how these actually smell, which is obviously the most important thing, what I'm going to say is in the opening, the fragrance that smells, I would say, the closest to Afternoon Swim is definitely going to be the Luciano Sunset Swim. This one definitely has, I would say, the most sort of natural smell, when comparing it to the Grandeur Elite as well as the Aston. The Luciano definitely has, I would say, again, the most natural smell, as well as just the more sort of accurate smell to what, the Louis Vuitton smells like in the immediate opening, pretty much. The Grandeur Elite Sun Exclusif, I would say, is going to be the strongest out of all of these, but it's also the sweetest out of all of these. All right. And the sweetness is definitely, it's noticeable. I would say even if you're not necessarily smelling this fragrance side by side with the original Louis Vuitton Afternoon Swim, like I said before in a previous video, I had a 30 ml decant of Afternoon Swim that I had earlier this summer, and I sold it. And when I smelled this for the first time, I thought that, okay, yeah, this definitely does smell like what I remembered Afternoon Swim smelling like, but I could definitely tell there was more sweetness in this fragrance for sure than what I remembered Afternoon Swim having. And so once you kind of get these side by side, you definitely can tell like, all right, yeah, this is absolutely sweeter. With the Aston Luxe Vision Morning Swim, this one is not very close at all. This one doesn't even open up with the same sort of citrus notes that the others open up with. With the Luciano and the Grandeur Elite, you can definitely tell that you're smelling some form of mandarin orange pretty much with both of these. Obviously, again, this one is going to be a lot more sweeter, but you can definitely tell you're smelling mandarin orange with both of these. With the Aston, you're not really smelling mandarin orange at all. You're getting lemon with this. It's like a sort of sweet synthetic lemon that you're smelling with this, along with, I would say, probably some bergamot and just a tad bit of mandarin. But the way that this one comes off when you spray this one on in the opening, doesn't matter if you're smelling it on skin or on a tester strip, it comes off as kind of smelling like cat piss. I'm not gonna lie. So this one will absolutely throw you off if you smell this. And I would say it doesn't matter if you're familiar with the way the Afternoon Swim smells or not. This one is not going to be a very pleasurable smell, I would say, at least for about the first 2 hours or so, because that's pretty much how long that lemony kind of tang sort of, sticks around in this fragrance. So I would say this one overall is not going to be one that I would recommend to anyone, because it's, like I said, it's the furthest off, and it just has a very annoying sort of lemon note that again smells like cat piss in my opinion. All right, so wouldn't recommend this one at all. Now in terms of once you start getting into kind of like that dry down period, in the dry down, I would still say that the Luciano is, I would say, the most natural smelling, but I would actually say that the Sun Exclusif, even though it still is more sweeter, it does start to become a little bit closer to Afternoon Swim. Afternoon Swim has a slight sort of fizziness to it that I feel like is not really in the Luciano at all, really at any point in the fragrance. Whereas I would say the Sun Exclusif does have that pretty much throughout the entire life of the fragrance, up until you start getting into like the really far dry down of this fragrance. All right, so this one, even though it is a little bit sweeter in the dry down, I would say it is a little bit closer to Afternoon Swim. But this one, I would say it has more of, again, sort of like a more natural sort of smell to it. In terms of like the far dry down, this one does start to become like really syrupy sweet on my skin, and it definitely I would say veers far away from what the Afternoon Swim smells like, the original from Louis Vuitton. So I would say probably after about hour 5 or so, this one doesn't really smell like Afternoon Swim at all. After hour 5, I would say this one does smell the closest to Afternoon Swim. So it's kind of like, it kind of goes back and forth. This one, I would say after about, I would say between hour 2 through 5, pretty much, this one is going to smell the most like Afternoon Swim. This one is going to be, I would say, in second, a close second. And then this one is going to be third. And then pretty much after hour 5, this one is going to be in last place, I would say. This one is going to be in second place, the Luxe Vision Morning Swim. And then this is going to be number one. All right. In terms of the performance, all right, the performance I would say is going to be Sun Exclusif is going to be the best. All right. This one has better projection, or stronger projection anyway, I would say, than what the original from Louis Vuitton does. And it has stronger projection than the other two fragrances, the Luciano and the Aston. This also has the best longevity out of the other two clones. So this one is going to be like around that 6 to 6.5 hour mark. This one is going to be closer to about 6. And I would say this one is going to be anywhere from about 5 to 5.5 hours, pretty much. I would say about 5.5 to 6 hours is pretty much what you get with this one. So, I mean, I guess you could say technically these two are kind of the same when it comes to longevity. But this one is definitely going to be the much more, I would say, enjoyable experience when it comes to the fragrance DNA. If I'm going to rate these three clones, you know, on a scale from 1 to 10 or, you know, 1 to 100, I would say, you know, in terms of just overall rating, I would give the Sun Exclusif a 9 out of 10. I would give the Luciano a 9.5 out of 10. And then I would give the Luxe Vision Morning Swim from Aston, I would say this one is probably about a 6.5 out of 10, 6.5 to 7. This one is not, again, one that I would recommend if you're looking for an afternoon swim clone. The opening, like I said, of this all throughout pretty much the first 2 hours of fragrance are just not really that enjoyable. Smells cheap, and I would say you're probably going to turn some people off the way that this one smells. It just smells weird to me. I'm not really sure if this one just needs to sit for a while and, you know, kind of maturate, and maybe it'll get better. I doubt it though. Like I said, I'm not even getting the same sort of citrus from this fragrance. This one pretty much smells like just straight lemon for the most part when you spray it on. These two, I would say you really can't go wrong with. You just have to, you know, be okay with this one being a little bit sweeter than the Afternoon Swim DNA. And then this one, I would say you kind of lack a little bit of that sort of fizziness that you get from Afternoon Swim. But overall, I would say this one would be the one that I would, you know, sort of recommend over the Grandeur Elite. All right. So that is pretty much, that's my take on these fragrances. I know some people have definitely mentioned that, you know, they're not getting good performance at all from these two. Obviously, haven't had any comments on this one because this is the first time that I'm mentioning this fragrance on the channel. But I mean, these two fragrances, for the scent profile that they, you know, are sort of replicating, I'm not really sure what type of performance people are expecting out of these. Like I said, this one pretty much on par with the original in terms of the projection. The longevity isn't as good, I would say, but this one actually gives me better projection than the original does. All right. So, I mean, I don't really know what to say on that one. But, you know, obviously different people's skin are different. So, you know, different people are going to get different results when it comes to certain fragrances. Definitely, I can't wait to see how these sort of last in the summertime, or even I would say the springtime out here when it gets to about 80 to 90 degrees. I was getting the, you know, numbers that I'm, you know, referring to in this video in terms of like the longevity. I was getting those numbers in fairly cool weather. So I would have to assume that probably in the summertime, these are all going to last even longer than, you know, the sort of 5 to 6 hours that, you know, I'm getting from them right now. So I'll definitely, you know, kind of come back and maybe do another, you know, sort of follow-up video if that is the case. But overall, I would say I'm very happy with these two for sure, especially the Luciano. And again, this one I would say avoid. All right. So let me know in the comments, you know, do you agree with my assessment of these fragrances? I know obviously some of you all don't. But again, like I said, everyone's skin is different. Everyone's experience is different. I was not sent any of these fragrances for free. I paid for all of these. So these are my honest assessments of all of these fragrances. And obviously I'm not sponsored by any of these brands whatsoever. All right. So let me know in the comments what you all thought of this video. Also, let me know, have you actually smelled any or all of these fragrances, and how close do you think that these come to the original from Louis Vuitton? And also do me a favor, go ahead and like the video. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Scents. I'll see y'all in the next video.